It's 1969, and Honda drops a motorcycle so revolutionary it changes the game forever. The CB750. 4 cylinders, electric start, front disc brake, features that made jaws drop. But over 50 years later, is this legendary machine still the bulletproof ride everyone claims it is? Or will it drain your wallet? Let's find out. When the Honda CB750 rolled out in 1969, it dominated. The CB750 was different. It was reliable, dependable, revolutionary. And that reputation? It's earned. Motorcyclist magazine didn't just give it a pat on the back, they crowned it Motorcycle of the Century. That's not a title you hand out lightly. The CB750 sets a new standard for what motorcycles could be: powerful, sophisticated, and most importantly, trustworthy. Now let's talk about what really matters to riders: reliability. Ask any CB750 owner about their experience, and you'll hear the same stories over and over. Tales of bikes that start on the first kick, engines that got through thousands of miles without complaint, and machines that simply refuse to quit. Many owners swear their CB750s have never left them sitting on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck. That's the kind of reliability that builds legends. That's exactly what the CB750 delivered. But here's where things get interesting, and this is something every potential buyer needs to understand. The CB750's reliability isn't magic, it's maintenance. This bike rewards those who respect it. Give it regular oil changes, keep the carbs clean, check those valve clearances, and it'll run forever. But neglect it, well, that's when problems start creeping in. The beauty of the CB750 lies in its straightforward engineering. This isn't some overly complicated modern bike with computer systems and sensors everywhere. It's mechanical, honest. If something goes wrong, you can usually figure it out with basic tools and a service manual. The engine design is simple enough that mechanically inclined riders can do most maintenance themselves. And parts? They're everywhere. The CB750 was so popular and remains so beloved that finding replacement parts is rarely a headache. Now, before you rush out thinking you found the perfect vintage motorcycle with zero issues, let me pump the brakes for a second, because every classic bike has its quirks, and the CB750 is no exception. So, what are the common problems you need to watch out for? First up, the charging system, specifically the rotor. This is probably the most frequently mentioned weak point among CB750 owners. The rotor can fail, and when it does, you're looking at electrical gremlins and a bike that won't charge its battery properly. The smart move is to check the stator cover and rotor slip rings during any inspection. Catch it early and it's a manageable fix. Ignore it and you're in for frustration. Then there's the timing chain slippers and oil passages. On older CB750 models, these timing chain slippers can wear down over time. When they do, they can foul the oil passages leading to the camshaft. Now you got lubrication problems, potential head gasket issues, and a whole cascade of trouble you don't want. Oil leaks from head gaskets? Yeah, that's another known quirk of the CB750. Not a deal breaker, but definitely something to monitor. The airbox and fuel delivery system also deserve attention. The original airbox and correct carburetor jetting are crucial for smooth operation across the entire RPM range. Here's where a lot of amateur mechanics get into trouble. They modify the airbox, mess with the jets, throw on aftermarket parts without understanding the consequences. They wonder why their bike runs rough or won't idle properly. Stick with the original specification and the bike runs beautifully. Start improvising and you're asking for headaches. There are some smaller ergonomic gripes too. Some riders mention brake lever positioning isn't perfect, or that the stock gearing could be better, especially on later models like the Hornet derivative. And of course, being a vintage machine, you've got all the usual wear and tear suspects. Drivetrains that need regular tensioning and lubrication, tires that age out, suspension components that eventually need attention. But if the Honda CB750 is known for having potential issues with charging systems, oil passages, and head gasket leaks, and if it requires such diligent maintenance to stay reliable, then how can we honestly call it a reliable motorcycle at all? Well, reliability in vintage motorcycles exists on a completely different spectrum than reliability in modern bikes. When we say the CB750 is reliable, we're not comparing it to a brand new Honda from 2025 with fuel injection, electronic management systems, and maintenance intervals measured in tens of thousands of miles. That would be absurd. We're comparing it to its contemporaries. The British bikes that leaked oil like it was their job, the Italian machines that were temperamental artists, the American cruisers that were lucky to make it across town. In that context, the CB750 was a revelation. Yes, it needs maintenance. Yes, it has known weak points. But here's the critical difference. The CB750's problems are predictable, manageable, and well documented. You know what to check. You know what fails. You know how to fix it. And when you do those things, the bike doesn't surprise you with catastrophic failures or bizarre electrical gremlins that defy diagnosis. That's what reliability meant in 1969, and that's what it still means for classic motorcycles today. A reliable vintage bike isn't one that never needs attention. It's one that responds positively to proper care and doesn't punish you with random expensive failures. CB750 fits that definition perfectly. Feed it good oil, keep the carbs synchronized, watch the charging system, and it'll reward you with thousands of trouble-free miles. Let me paint you another picture. Imagine you're a rider who's on top of your maintenance game. You do the basics religiously, checking engine oil and coolant level before rides, ensuring proper throttle and clutch free play, monitoring brake fluid and pads, keeping that drivetrain perfectly tensioned and lubricated, inspecting tires for wear and correct pressure, making sure all lights, horn, and indicators work. Sounds like a lot, right? But here's the thing, it's really not. These are simple checks that can take maybe 15 minutes before a ride, and they're the things any motorcycle owner should be doing anyway, vintage or not. Do these things consistently, and the CB750 becomes incredibly dependable. Skip them, and yeah, you're asking for problems. But that's not the bike's fault, that's on you. But here's the twist that changes everything. The CB750 isn't just appreciating in nostalgia, it's appreciating in actual market value. Well-maintained examples are climbing in price. Clean, original CB750s are becoming legitimate collectibles. So while you're doing that regular maintenance, while you're keeping it in top shape, you're not just preventing a money pit, you're potentially sitting on an investment. Think about it this way, a neglected modern bike just becomes worthless junk. A neglected CB750 becomes an expensive restoration project that someone will still buy because the bike is that desirable. But a properly maintained CB750, that's an asset that can actually make you money down the road. How many motorcycles can you say that about? Now let me be crystal clear. This doesn't mean every CB750 is automatically a smart financial decision. If you buy a basket case, a bike that's been neglected for decades, sitting in a barn with seized pistons and a wiring harness that rodents have turned into a nest, yeah, that can absolutely become a money pit. Resurrection costs add up fast. Engine rebuilds, electrical rewiring, replacing worn timing chains, fixing oil leaks, sourcing correct parts. That stuff isn't cheap. But if you buy a solid example, or better yet, one that's already been properly maintained, and you commit to keeping up with it, that's not a money pit. That's smart ownership of a classic machine. So let's bring this all together. Is the Honda CB750 a reliable bike or a money pit? Well, the answer is it's a reliable bike when maintained properly. It's not a modern maintenance-free machine that you can ignore for months and expect perfect performance. It's a classic motorcycle that requires regular attention, understanding, and care. In return for that care, it delivers consistent performance, manageable issues, strong parts availability, and a riding experience that stood the test of time. It can become a money pit if you neglect it. If you buy a basket case project without understanding what you're getting into, or if you make ill-advised modifications without proper knowledge. But for the owner who respects the bike, maintains it properly, and either has mechanical skills or is willing to develop them, the CB750 is far more reliable companion than liability. Its reputation isn't myth. It's earned through decades of performance. Yes, it needs basic to moderate maintenance. Yes, it has known issues that require vigilance, but those issues are well documented, manageable, and honestly, part of the charm of owning a classic machine. And let's not forget, you're also potentially holding an appreciating asset, a bike that can actually increase in value while providing riding enjoyment. That's pretty rare in the motorcycle world. So here's my question for you. If you could go back to 1969 and buy a brand new Honda CB750, would you do it? And more importantly, if you found a clean, well-maintained CB750 today, would you take the plunge into vintage ownership? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into CB750 ownership, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss future videos where we tackle more questions like this.